And 5, 4, 3.
Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It's Lunchtime in Rome. Tonight's episode 199 is entitled Previous Guests. Tonight we'll be going over all of our favorite non-family guests that have been with us at the table. How many of them have you watched or listened to? Which ones did you miss? Pull up a seat at the table and join us. First-time listeners can subscribe on your favorite podcast app or watch us live or later at youtube.com/lunchtimeinrome. Visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com, and while there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Make sure to follow us on all social media, and it would be great if you gave us a 5-star review. Jay, what's this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you're all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That's how you keep people from being alone, and what this podcast is all about. We talk about that in the first 15 or 20 minutes of the podcast, and then we talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is lunchtime in Rome.
In Rome. Wow, it caught me off guard there on the lunchtime.
Yeah, I was a little off guard, too.
Rome.
So glad to be back. Technical difficulties are almost over.
I ironed them out for you.
Thank you.
Did
Website's back up.
They got back to you?
Yeah, Betty.
Great.
Betty from Substack.
Shout out
Betty
to
from
Betty.
Substack. Not a name that I would thought that would come up, but
It's actually BEDDEEE.
yeah, but very
Betty?
helpful. And so you got to go to www.lunchtimeinrome.com.
You have to put www in.
For right now. I'm going to fix that, but right now we're back
Do you
up
have to do
and running.
HTTPS?
No, just the www.
How many W's?
.lunchtimeinrome.com
Have you guys ever heard
/biz.
a low-hanging fruit
That's not true.
That's not true.
comedian bit where they talk about that www is a shortening of World Wide Web.
Yes.
But World Wide Web is 3 syllables and www
Yes,
is
it's harder to say.
It's harder to say.
It is.
9 syllables.
Easier to type, harder to say.
Yeah. No, but glad we're there. And Amy and I are once again at Maggie's birthday being the finish line in our lives.
Nice.
I made that joke to Alexis tonight, and she was like, I don't get it. So I had to explain the whole thing.
Yeah, so last year we were going through a lot, and the finish line was Maggie's
And going
birthday.
through a lot means a lot of great events, a lot of big time
Yeah,
things.
just a lot
like
of doing, a lot of very tired,
good stuff.
And we just needed a normal week of just normalcy. But we did go away. Shout out to Jen and Adam Stickle who run
Sunflower Sprouts.
That's right. They run Sunflower Sprouts, and we're gonna have Jen on here soon. Now that Sunflower Sprouts is over, she has time to come out. She's gonna be a guest on
So
the
are
show.
they now just sunflowers?
They're not sprouting anymore. They're just up. And so Amy went up to work the sale. I did a little bit of work too, up in Erie, PA, and everybody was so nice up there. Everybody we interacted with, people that were
That's
coming
because
into
of the
shop.
weather. It's always beautiful and sunny up there. That's the weather.
And it's funny that you say that because we were up there and it was windy, a little bit of rain, not a lot, but gray, overcast, rain coming sideways.
Erie.
That is nice for there.
And
They were all happy.
Yeah, but Amy was like, I grew up here. We came up here a lot, and she was like, this is the way it was all the time.
Kind of like it is here down in Pittsburgh over the last 6 days.
Over the past 6 days has been kind of brutal, but
Miserable.
but she worked the sale and we went out to dinner and we did some antiquing, but at the hotel we were staying, and this is we talk about how Satan interferes and gets a foothold in places for 2 reasons here.
You're paranoid.
We got Amy and I are away for the weekend. We took an extra night
Yeah, you did.
to just have us time up there,
Forget the day.
and
Just the extra night.
without Maggie. Yeah.
So Chris picks up on.
Yeah. And we had a great time. And when we heard about the hotel, we heard that the fire alarm had been going off
Oh, gosh, yeah.
in the middle of the night. And the first night it went off 30 seconds. All right, whatever. Well,
And they
okay,
had warned
fine.
you about this.
We had heard it from friends. The hotel people hadn't warned us about it, but we had heard it from other people that were working Sunflower Sprouts.
Okay.
Was this one of the 2 on the bay?
No, this was over by the Mill Creek Mall.
Yes.
Which is a really nice mall. So the first night, 30 seconds went off, whatever, go back to sleep. Second night went off, the sound went off, but the strobe light didn't go off. So like even with your eyes closed,
When you
would
say
see-
go off, you mean stop.
Stop, yeah. Right. So yeah, it turned on, bop, 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 doing that whole thing, and then strobe light flashing. So like even with your eyes closed, you see like the red, under your eyelids.
Yeah.
And we just couldn't fall asleep.
You said it ticks too, right?
Yeah,
like
it has that tick sound,
yeah.
of a flash. And I called the front desk, and I kind of complained a little bit, and the guy laughed a little bit when he was talking. I said, "Oh, this is not funny." And he was like, "Oh, yeah, it's actually quite aggravating." And I said, "Yep." And I said, "Do you have complimentary sleep masks or anything?" "No." And I was like, "Maybe you should." And I just hung up the phone. I was like, and then I was just trying to like scramble because like it's not like we're gonna change.
Hotels at
hotels
1:30 in the morning.
1:30 in the morning because we're leaving the next day. It's like if this is so aggravating, let's get in the car and go home now. Because like you know what I mean. Like that's where my head was. But I was trying to be resourceful, so I took my toiletry bag and I smothered it like I was killing somebody with a pillow, and I put it over the light.
How would you know?
I don't know.
He can't talk about it.
and that alleviated that. And then we put on some white noise to get the tick sound out. But it was one of those things where it's like, man, we finally get a little bit of time away.
Right.
And Satan's like, hey, let's have this fire alarm. And then for the good people that Jen and Adam
You think Satan did that to you?
He said so.
I think that's how he works.
He didn't stop it.
Neither did God.
But even with like Jen and Adam, they're good people and they're trying to do this great thing, and they bought this block of rooms at this hotel, and then this is happening. And for doing such a good thing.
Did they end up getting like money back or no?
I don't know. I'm sure they did because Adam is good at that kind of talk. He's good at talking his way into a deal. So I'm sure they got something. I hope they did. We haven't talked to him yet since, but I'll hear from them later this week. But we did have a great time. It was so fun.
What's good is bad.
What's good is bad, dude. What's good is bad. It's such a reoccurring theme in Amy's life. But yeah, I had one of the best meals I've ever had. Pork osso russo.
Ossobuco?
I don't know.
Ossobuco.
Got sick later.
Ossobuco.
No?
Oh, good.
No. Amy had a crab cake that was so good. So good. Oh my gosh. So shout out to the Cork restaurant up in Erie. It's
Nice.
very, very good.
Erie, underrated, honestly.
It's a very fun town.
I love that
There are
town.
a ton of little quirky, fun things to go do and see. Ossobuco.
Presque Isle is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. So it was really fun.
That's like 30 minutes from Titusville.
Oh,
45.
yeah. We've
30,
heard of it
45, yeah.
up there. Yeah. No, it's that was vacation.
Did you
That
guys,
was
that's what you did?
That was day trip up there. Yeah, absolutely. That was
Yeah.
go to Presque Isle, sit
It's like
on the
your
beach
Ohio
and-
Pow.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, man, Ohio Power. I can't wait to go back. I miss that
It's
place.
been a minute.
Yeah. Not much going on in my life since the last time we
Wide
met.
open.
We'll talk a little bit more about it once we actually get into it. But I do want to talk about the musical over the weekend. Jay, you can join me in this, Chris. Penn Hills had their musical last weekend and then this past weekend. So they did 5 total shows. Ethan was in it. Lily was in it. Bella was the lead.
She had a part.
She had a very good part, but it was great. I really enjoyed it. I thought the musical itself was very fun. There was a lot of songs to it. I know it's a musical, but there was a lot of songs in this musical compared to I'm thinking of like last year with like Little Women. I mean, there were songs, but like this was like a lot.
Yeah.
But everything went off pretty much without a hitch. No injuries, no real embarrassments.
Ironically, no drama
Yeah, it
for a play.
Yeah, it was just musical. Oh,
No unintended
musical.
drama.
Right.
But it was you could tell the kids were just really enjoying themselves. And what I really hit me was there's so many of those kids that are graduate. There's so many of those kids that are seniors this year, and watching them and watching Ethan's. Most of his friends are the seniors, in this musical group, and he's always talked about how much he likes hanging out with these seniors, and I've gotten to know them. Jay, you guys know them. It's a great group of kids. Do they have their issues? Of course,
Cool.
But it's a great group of very talented people, and they just get in your heart. You know, like the more you hang around them, the more they get in your heart. And
they're just scratching and clawing and trying to get through life like anybody else. And they're doing it in the most beautiful and earnest of ways.
Right. And like you said before, you say one positive thing to them and it makes their day because nobody else is doing that. So just watching the whole production, it really hit me on Sunday afternoon with the matinee, which was the last show of this year, you know, for this group of kids. Like, I've been watching these kids since Ethan was in 6th grade.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Because he's been in it for a long time.
Yeah, that's quite a long time. And so it was like, this is a sad, you know, this is a sad moment. But it was also, it's bittersweet. So it was a really good time. I got to shout out my parents. We're having a little get together over at my sister's on Sunday. It's their 50th anniversary coming up. Not on Sunday. Sunday is just when we're celebrating it.
And not your sisters.
Not my sisters. No. So, their anniversary is May 12th, but we're celebrating it this Sunday. So 50 years of marital bliss. And I'm looking forward to that too. It's going to be a very big weekend.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That is a lot. Wow.
I agree with everything you said about the musical. And, you know, surreal in a lot of ways. Different for me this year. Like, I was so petrified last year when Bella had the lead because if she she split the lead last year. She was split cast. So it was only 2 leading nights, tons of pressure. I was so petrified she would screw up. 1, because my heart would be broken for her, and 2, my life would be miserable. But she didn't screw up last year, and this year she sang every night. She was the same character every night. Wasn't split cast. And it's just so surreal in general when you go see a musical and you see them on stage. Yeah. Because they look like grown adults.
Yep.
And they look all in control. And I mean,
animated, alive. Like I've been, not to take your, but I've been saying to people, like, there's sound booth Ethan and Bella, and then there's stage Ethan and Bella. Because you see them like at church on Sunday, and you know Bella's back there, Ethan's back there.
You mean I see the tops of their heads while during my sermon while they're looking at their phones?
Right. And they're just kind of like, hey, how you doing there? But then they get up there and they're just alive.
That's a really good way to put it. In the control, you know, like when Bella had to interview for a job once, I was petrified because she doesn't like to talk to adults. And they said how amazing she did. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, I just played the role of Bella.
Interesting.
And so, you know, to watch her own, I mean, I had zero concern. Like every once in a while I'd be like, I hope she nails the note. And she nailed the note. You know, and then you're like, it's the same little girl I'm going to put into bed tonight, and she's going to whine about something in school tomorrow and be stressed about something that has no consequence whatsoever. Yeah. And yet she's up there in the center of this whole thing.
It's amazing. It really is amazing.
It's amazing. And it was so nice. And, you know, people say, she did great. Well, like, who's going to come up to you and be like, a little flat?
Your daughter sucked.
Little flat.
People kept coming up to me and saying, Ethan's doing so good. And, like, I don't know what to say. I'm like, thank you. Like I don't want to take credit for, like, that's him. Talk to him.
But this is just a side note that I really haven't shared with too many people. But there was a mother on the volleyball team last year who caused me a lot of grief. Mm-hmm. Not a ton, but a lot. There were others who caused me a ton. Mm-hmm. She's the one that I said, I texted her back and said, your concern is noted. It is not shared. Right. There's no further need for communication. Well, she was there, and I saw her 3 different times. Not once did I get a, hey, she's doing great. And I was like, gosh. And I loved it because I'm like, confirms it. You're a terrible person. But anyhow, on another note, very dissimilar. I was speaking with Amy Rayman, who sits with us at the table. She's a regular here. And we were just talking. I'm like, okay, I got some time because I knew this was going to be a conversation. So it was last week when it was still nice out. So I picked all my spring onions out of the just the randomness that they grow in your garden, you know, and I'd let them go this year more than ever. And so they were like really onions. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had an entire gallon bag full of just the white part and half of the green because it gets a little woody in the green. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, know what I'm going to do. So the other night I had a little time on my hand. I mean, I'd clean them, getting all the dirt off of them, everything. I'd used a couple in omelets, fine, whatever. So the other night I put them in the food processor, ground them up as far as I could, did the same with some garlic, and I made an onion jam. Added a bunch of vinegar, and then, some spices, some fresh thyme, cooked it all the way down, and then added, I said vinegar, sugar to it, so you can make like a spread. Everything else,
What would you put that on?
you can put them like a burger or on a pork
Okay,
chop.
all right.
So it's a little sweet, but it's
A little
really
bit
oniony.
sweet,
Yeah.
oniony
garlicky.
glaze
Ooh.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. That's cool.
Oh, and I cooked it in bacon grease, so I got a little extra flavor of that. Yeah.
When
excited
are we
about that
having
now.
this little shindig?
It was terrible. I think I went too far up the green, and even though I put it in the food processor,
Did you use all of it?
what? Oh yeah, it's gone.
So you don't have like second chance.
No. And so it was the texture. The flavor was fine. It was good, but it was like I had wood chips. Like the green part was
Okay.
just too
Woody.
woody,
Yeah.
if you will. But yeah, and boy, the house smelled like vinegar, onions. Yep. Threw it right out. And I said to Rachel as I put her to bed, I was like, yep, I'm going to go downstairs. I'm going to try it. Then I'm going to throw it out. She was like, don't say that. I went downstairs, tried it, threw it out. And then Bella walks upstairs. Why does it smell like vinegar?
Can I say one? Can I share one more thing because I think it's hilarious? I've been snoring really bad.
I have
And-
never heard about
Yeah,
this.
no, and I've got this mouthpiece through my dentist, and it was working really good
Hey, guys.
for a while.
We're gonna be on the disc golf trip from Branson. Hey guys, you got my mouthpiece.
I do.
So you don't snore as much.
That's exactly how I sound. It's like two retainers upside down held
It's
together
a
by
good thing
bands.
the disc golf trip has 2 giant bedrooms because Brian's getting his own, and we're all going to be in the other one.
I don't know. I might be in there
No,
with
I
you,
was going
buddy.
to say you and I, man.
we can go
'cause-
toe to toe.
So I was really snoring. Lex was like, "We got to do something about this." Short of a CPAP, I'm like, "All right, so let me get on Amazon." So I got this pillow. It's specifically meant for people that snore, and it's definitely helped. But at the same time, while I was doing that, I was like, "Let's see what else is out there." So I got this thing called a nose fan, and what it does. It was
Can't wait.
You should have brought it.
I threw it away. It was one of the worst things I ever spent
like
money
Jay's
on.
jam.
I knew it. I knew as soon as I looked, like I was like, I'm gonna take a flyer on this. It's $30. We'll see.
Yeah.
So it's this thing that goes up both of your nostrils, and you turn it on, and it shoots air up your nostrils.
But I mean, that's what a CPAP does.
And in theory, it's like, this is great.
Yeah.
It was such a piece of junk. It said it would lasted like 8-hour battery. I'd wake up and it would be like, it would fall out of the case, or it was like up this way. It had already died after like 2 hours. I gave it an honest shot, but it was like, this is so ridiculous. So if you are looking to buy a nose fan off of Amazon and it's around the $30 range, probably don't do it.
Go for the $45 model.
Go for the 45. It's probably way better.
I don't want to go down this tangent, but like, have you heard of that hostage tape? Have you seen that?
Hostage tape?
Yeah, it's called hostage tape.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about
Oh,
this.
there's all kinds of stuff.
But you basically tape your mouth
Yeah,
shut.
yeah.
you have to breathe
I
through your
did-
nose.
Yeah.
I did see that.
my.
I might try it.
There's this chin strap that you could put on that holds. Yeah, dude. There's all kinds of stuff.
I'd rather do the mouth tape.
I might just go get a CPAP.
What if
honestly.
your nose gets like stuffed up and you like suffocate yourself?
If he dies, he dies.
You can't. you would wake up.
Okay, Drago.
Thank you.
Hopefully.
Hey,
Anyways.
I'm also here, and I wanted to say real quick.
I'm also here.
Oh, Chris.
Oh, hello.
When did you get here?
I don't have a great update. Listen.
2
I
weeks.
am
Nothing.
exhausted. That's what this 2 weeks has been.
I feel you, buddy.
Work wise, that like especially like just it's that time of year. The kids are
finish
like
line.
Starting to
ramped
get
up,
antsy.
Yeah.
energy,
Yeah.
and I only see my students once every 6 days. That's just how our rotation works.
Oh,
And
I only teach one class of kids once every 6 days.
That's the way that's the way my dad was with me.
I see, oh,
Good.
I see every kid in school once every 6 days, right? But what that also means is I only have like 3 classes left with some of these.
Yeah.
I'm down to like 3.5 basically, right? So some have 3, some have 4.
And you just went through PSSAs too.
Yeah, and well, in
was-
fact, we just finished the full testing today, and then 4th grade has like an extra science test tomorrow, so that'll be the last one. So yeah, the schedule's been weird, and it's just been the energy's been weird.
Weather's been weird.
That hasn't helped.
That doesn't. You go with the weather.
I think I might.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know me better than I do, so
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And it's not good.
I didn't know that.
You and I went disc golf. I hadn't been disc golfing for like 2 months, and you and I went disc golfing the other day.
That was glorious.
enjoyed that.
Oh,
That
where'd
was
you guys
back
go?
when the weather was actually like nice.
church.
We went to the church.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Jay
yeah,
joined us
yeah.
for the final
2 holes.
3.5,
Yeah.
2.5.
Chris got 2 discs stuck in the pine tree. On the,
Oh man,
Dude,
one was trying to save the first disc, and I just was like trying
In
to
the
toss
parking
it.
lot,
And it
he
just
was doing practice throws, and the one just goes right into the pine tree, gets stuck up there.
Well, here's why though. It wasn't that my aim was so terrible. There was that van.
Oh yeah.
There was a van like
throws you
right
off.
in the
Yeah, it
middle
does.
of where we would have been
see
aiming.
Yeah.
both the van's windows were open. The front windows were open. I
oh,
said,
that's a challenge.
We should,
That's a challenge right there.
try to get
Mando.
through. Yeah.
It's a big like can jam kind of situation there.
Yeah. So, but Chris was trying to throw around the van. He kind of held
Really
it
threw
held it a
around.
little bit too long. It went up into the pine tree. He walks over and he's like, and throws another disc.
And it just stuck. Like those branches are thick. Yeah, I need more times like that.
But
right
it was
now.
really, really nice, and I really
Yep,
appreciated you golfing with me.
When the weather was nice. I do. Jay, you're right. I just go with the weather. My mood is I'm so moody. Like the weather is moody. You know what I mean? Like it's just up and down. That's how my life is. But
well, hang on until Friday.
I can't wait. That'll be great.
Now Friday through Tuesday, they're saying.
Good. Yeah, I got to get out on the disc golf course at least once sometime. But just weird energy at school and I'm done. I'm just done. And I only see these kids like 3 more times and I'm like, okay, that sounds doable, right? But
You have
yet
the
I
names
feel
in
so
a chart with X's next to them, so you're just like, X. 3 more X's and you're done.
done with you.
Yeah.
Well, I am glad
I'm a good teacher.
that we are done with 198, halfway through 199 episodes.
It's amazing.
It really is. And it was fun for me to go back and make a list of all the guests we've had here at the table. And some are not really even guests anymore. Some of them are regulars. They sit at the table with us every week, sometimes in person, sometimes not. But we wanted to review the non-family members because we all know our family members. But the people who were, at least at the time they came on for the first time, truly guests at the table. And just go over those because maybe you haven't been with us. Maybe you're one of the few people who have not listened to all 199 episodes.
That's impossible.
I mean, there's millions of people out there, and some of them have not listened to all of our episodes. And so we want to sort of whet your appetite and talk about the people who are non-family member guests. Because if you know our family members, then you should have listened by now already. That's the way I look at it.
I agree.
But I think on a more serious note, we have sadly, in the last 6 to 8 months, realized a really valuable component of sitting here at the table. And that was in September with the passing of Douglas Bentley. Mm-hmm. And then most recently, the passing of Robert Jackson, Brian's good, and all of our good friends and brother in Christ.
Rob
go
was episode 111, and Douglas was 159. In case you wanted to go back and listen to those ones.
So why don't you just fill us in on Rob?
Yeah, because after Douglas passed, you talked about him, and we talked about that very unfortunate, very sad, tragic. Rob I'd known him for 25 years, very huge influence in my life in a lot of different ways. And he sat with us again, episode 111. So I don't know, a year and a half ago, probably something like that. And he definitely had his struggles, as we all do. He went blind in 2014.
I've been telling people 10 years. It's not really about me, but I'm glad I got it right.
Yeah, 2014, woke up one day, didn't have eyesight in one eye, went to the hospital overnight. They kept him, obviously. Woke up the next day, didn't have. So anyways, Rob dealt with that. And Rob was 47 when he died. I got the news 2 Fridays ago, really like early Saturday morning. And he had an aneurysm and fell down the stairs and was found a day later at his house. So it was very sudden, very in the same kind of suddenness and shocking like the Douglas was. It kind of hit me like that. And
when I remember you reached out to me that morning and you said, going through this, you realized you probably didn't comfort me well enough when Douglas passed. And do you remember what I said to you? I said, when it's so, go ahead.
I don't remember.
I said, when it's so sudden, you're in shock. Mm-hmm. There's not much, if to comfort is to join somebody in their emotions, you don't even know what you're feeling. You know, you're just like, whoa.
Right.
You know, so, and it's sort of the same. It's sort of like, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that happened.
Yeah. And, you know, Rob was he was a big personality, always optimistic, always trying to get some kind of business going. You know, one of the last things, I guess it would be 3 Sundays ago, I took him to church. He couldn't drive anymore, so I'd go down to Wilkinsburg, pick him up, bring him to church. And even in that short time of coming to church, even in the sporadic way that he came, when I told people, because he had such a big personality, because he had such a positive outlook, regardless of what he was going through, he was looking to impart something to you, you know, through his words, through his encouragement, very encouraging. And so really found out Saturday, went into church on Sunday, and I was mentioning it just on the side to a couple people that I wasn't really looking to mention it to anybody at that point in time. Right. But I mentioned it to a guy that Rob had befriended that last Sunday that he came. The guy came to a 9 o'clock service just out of the blue, and Rob went over and sat next to him, started talking to him, said, "Why don't you come to the 10:30 right after this?" So the guy came to the 10:30. You know, they for that brief 2 hours of time, this guy really, you know, just Rob was able to impart to him, just welcoming. So the guy came back the next week, and this was the Sunday after I found out about it, 2 days after I found out about it, and I walk up to the guy, his name's John, and John said, "Hey, is your buddy coming today?" Because I was really looking forward to seeing him again, and I had to tell him the impact that it made on this guy. He had met him just
once,
quickly.
Yeah.
You know, in the grand scheme of things. And the couple other people that I told on the side, the way that they impacted him, it was such a blessing to me to see how somebody that you think, look, this is just my buddy, I'm just bringing him to church, I know he's a great guy, but in those moments to really see how he impacted people. And a lot of times people they're not going to say that just on a, you know, hey, I'm alive. They're just not going to say it unless something tragic like this happens. And so it's great to see, even in an unfortunate situation, it's nice to see what people do have in their heart, in their mind, and how they perceive other people. And it just kind of sucks sometimes that we have to take a situation like this for people to actually say, you know, those kind of things that they're thinking. So anyways, that's Rob. You know, there's obviously a lot more to him, but he sat at the table, and we're going to miss him.
I love that John has somebody came up to me and told me that new John, I'm calling him. Not that we have an old John, but I don't know, just the nicknames you get in church, you know. But new John came up to them and said, yeah, you know, Rob really helped me out, and he was really, you know, I felt really loved by him. He goes, so now I'm going to keep coming to church in his place.
Wow. Wow.
And I said, well, actually, you should come because God, no. But I mean,
Yeah, right. No, right. You're right.
But
right,
it was
right.
so
That's
cool.
beautiful.
Like, what a great last church visit for Rob.
You
Right.
could, you could feel Rob enter the room with good energy.
I mean, he's one of the few amens I ever get.
Yeah.
You know, because some people can amen, and you're like, it's not what you do.
It's not Rob's amen.
No, it's, you believe
And
it.
man, he would come up to me every time after church and like just compliment my drumming and be so encouraging. You know, just man, I am gonna miss that so much.
Yeah, and it was great having him on. I mean, and it's just nice that anybody that wants to, when you miss Rob a little bit, you just log back on. I mean, the Douglas episode, I remember when we did that one, I was so excited to hear for him to tell the stories that he had told me about how he had come to know Christ, how God spoke to him through his stroke, how he was led back to Penn Hills.
He was talking to deer out.
Dude, he got so deep into the story.
Wild. You have to go back and listen to it.
But I was dying. I was like,
wild.
what is he doing? Like, this is the most random story. And then it's like, oh, he's setting the tone so that God would get all the glory. And it's not about his story. It's about God's story in him. And I mean, his episode count was one of our larger ones already, but it probably doubled since then.
Yeah.
And, you know, and loss in my own life, like I love, one of the greatest things about social media is Facebook memories, because I'll see a memory of Trey, and it's always funny because I didn't post sad stuff, but it's a nice thing. Well, here you can have an hour with Rob anytime you want, you know, and to hear, you know, his voice, to see his face, to hear the stories, it's just a testimony to God giving us that moment in time. That anybody who loved him, or hey, even if you didn't love him, didn't know him, man, come get to know this guy that meant a lot to a lot of people. That was really for lack of a better term, I would just say such a survivor.
Oh my gosh. And Lex used the word striving. We talked about, now he's finished his race. He's
I didn't even tell my mom. She'd have been pissed.
But that was the word Lex used. She was like, as we're talking about celebrating him now that he is with Jesus, she was like, I am thankful that this striving, because all he did
Strive.
faithful,
striving.
Yep.
Survivor, but it's more than survive, because many people would have quit 1,000 times over.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Even as recently as about a month and a half ago, he was down in his the house he lived in Wilkinsburg. The dude didn't have running water at the time, because when he moved back in, the person that was there that he had been renting to left him with this huge water bill. So his water was shut off. At one point, I went down there with a big Tyler Mountain water jug of 5-gallon water jug, and that's what he was showering with at one point. One day came to church with a couple water jugs, and we filled them up in the fellowship hall kitchen, and so those were some of the challenges that he was facing. But through it all, his positivity.
And you'd never know it.
Right.
You would never know it, because he always put on a brave face and an optimistic face. And, again, speaking about gratitude, like we did a couple weeks ago, gratitude and optimism, they really do go a long way, So it was, if you want to get to know Rob better, go back and listen to episode 111. But also it's been great for the other, for all these other people that we have had on. It's been great to get to know them. I love to sit and just talk to people and find out what makes them tick. And, starting with Richie Reeder at episode 64 all the way through episode 188, we've had 15, it looks like 15 or so non-family guests on, and each one is a much different story.
Well, they're different.
Yeah. So
somebody who has sat at the table, sits at the table with us, never on air. We always affectionately call her, I believe, Trixie, code name. She said, you don't have anybody who is like me on your podcast. And yet I have learned and identified with everybody you've had on your podcast and learned from it and really been changed by it. Changing gears, by the way, Douglas is episode 159, if you want to go back and listen to that one. Michelle Gonzales, episode 107. Michelle is a friend of mine from way back, from 1994. And she's the sister of Joseph Jason, another guest of ours. But it was such a contrast in episodes, because I remember Michelle.
Yeah, it was.
Michelle comes in, and, this is when we were still upstairs, so we're in a cramped little bedroom, office, podcast room, everything else.
Got to be quiet for Maggie.
And it was like, and go. I think I don't even know who all was there. Were you there for that?
I was there for that one.
I missed that one.
You missed that one? What'd you say? 3 words all night?
Oh, she was, she's
I could have listened to her
full
talk all
energy.
night. I was
yeah.
tell me more stories.
She's the
This was so
greatest
fun.
Yinzer, McKee's Port Girl,
Yeah,
talking about, who was it? She got on the tour bus, Skid Row or something.
It was something like that. It was like 80s.
Who's like a lead singer guy from, I don't know, and he tried to make out with her friend or whatever, and so
Brett Michaels.
It could have been Brett Michaels' Poison's
no.
local.
Hey, don't you dare! Brett Michaels is a saint.
I didn't know that.
And it doesn't matter.
What does that mean for Michelle?
Well, she didn't do it.
Oh, right.
No, she's classy. She's a classy McKeesport broad.
It was her friend. right.
Oh, that's right. I forgot she was from McKeesport too.
She's a classy
We had some conversations about that. That
You
was
say
fun.
class and broad in the same sentence all the time.
Yeah. When you're talking about, I got nothing.
And that's funny that we had her and Joseph Jason on back-to-back episodes too. That wasn't a nice little.
Well, that was sort of a theme we had, because we had the general. Now, this is a family, so we're not going to talk about the episode. But we had the general on,
Right.
Then we had Mary Lynn on.
That's right.
And so then we had Joseph Jason's, which is somebody we can talk about right now. And then we had his sister, Michelle, on.
I really enjoyed the Joseph Jason.
Yeah, he was cool.
Went out actually with him one time after that for lunch, and just to really get to
Skydiving.
just a fascinating guy. Been in prison, but
15 years.
15 years in prison,
Big boy prison.
and and maintained just this mindset.
I wouldn't even say maintained, though.
Developed.
Obtained.
Obtained and developed, and
All about perspective.
all about perspective. And he's in the process of becoming a motivational speaker. I mean, he is, but he's building his following and everything like that.
He's written at least one book.
I don't remember the specifics. I just know he's one of those kind of people I personally like to meet, to sit with, the energy, the stories.
And you know when you've met him.
Yes, you certainly do. He's another big personality.
I remember he said he was at a most depressed moment in prison, and he wrote down a list of like 100 things that he hated about himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then he took one, and he figured he could work on one thing at a time. And then he would put the list back under his bed.
Yep.
And then he would, until he got better at that one thing. Because he said, I had nothing but time in prison.
Right.
And then how about afterwards? When he was telling us about just like getting jumped
Oh, yeah.
and stuff like that.
He had some stories,
He
man.
had some
I mean,
stories,
I mean, he and Chris, man, they're so
yeah, we have very similar. Yeah.
McKeesport.
Oh, I thought it was the Walnut Street Wackos that you were
I
referencing.
forgot about that.
He does have a website, josephjason.com, empowering through perspective.
Yeah, he was episode 106. Michelle was episode 107.
And she brought us salsa.
That is interesting. It's her.
And Amy Rayman.
Amy Rayman never shows up without something.
Right.
Who
Her
else?
Chex Mix is fire.
So here's where we get into trouble. Who else has come to the table with gifts?
Did Ashley Cesaratto come with gifts?
Did she come with gifts?
No, we talked about food.
Food centric for sure.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great time sitting with her because she and I go way back. She played volleyball for half a second at 6 foot tall. Thanks so much for quitting, Ashley. Still not letting that go.
Yeah, she is tall.
But and there was a lot of history there, and she was pretty. I mean, we always say you got to be open, honest, and vulnerable, and I think she very much was.
She was
Yeah.
a good episode.
I
yeah.
enjoyed that conversation with her.
And she knows her food. But again, she's the president, founder.
Sure.
I don't know, what are you?
I would say
Of
founder.
a Facebook page that I think I was one of the first 20 members, and now they're over 15,000.
That's-
I think it's even more
Pittsburgh
than that now.
Foodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a good one if you can get in it because it's pretty exclusive.
Are you serious or no?
I don't know. I mean, you have it's a closed group.
Right.
You have to be invited, or asked to join or whatever. But it's a great place to go if you're looking for whatever. Like,
Right. And I
just
remember we
give me the
talked
best
about-
breakfast on the north side.
And you can go to that if you're a member, and they archive questions, like they have notes or whatever, because people will come on and be like, "Where's best wings in Pittsburgh?"
Right.
And then it's 120 comments, and you're like, "I know, we've seen that 8 times."
Right.
But
no,
there's
but
a
she
way
was
to
very
navigate
impressive
that.
with her music and everything.
So good.
Choir and
Well, and then
teaching.
the connection with Chris.
yeah, she's a
and,
teacher. Yeah.
East End Cooperative Kids
Right.
Chaos.
And I thought it was interesting about her relationship arc, talking about being at Westminster College and, how I don't remember the specifics. I just remember it stuck out to me, something about that whole thing.
Yeah, I actually wasn't here for her
For
episode.
Ashley's.
I was looking down the list. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be interested to count how many of these I actually was here for, because a lot of times it was like,
You volunteer to
right,
stick out.
there's
Yeah.
a guest this week, I'll back off the mic. But
I would say Kim Clemons also qualifies as bringing something because she came with Amy Raymond, and I'm pretty sure they both brought
She did bring a snack.
they brought something, cookies. But yeah, Kim was really interesting.
Kim was really fun.
Kim
Yeah.
is also Amy's. They call each other every Tuesday, right? We made a nickname.
I don't know what the nickname was.
No, the Tuesday thing. Gratitudes?
Gratitude Tuesdays. Yeah,
I
that's
was gonna
right.
say I don't know what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, but she calls Amy her role model.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but that connection between Kim and Amy Raymond, they get together every Tuesday and find something to be grateful
Or
about.
even just text.
Right.
Right.
But they make
Two things.
They make an intentional effort to connect with each other, which is super important.
Connected, not alone.
Right.
Yep. And then to find gratitude in something.
Kim was our most recent guest. I don't know if we said it, episode 188.
Yeah.
I assume this will be posted, right? We'll have
We'll
this.
have show notes, and I'm linking to different things. Like I linked to Douglas's and Rob's episode in there, and I'll link to a couple other things that are relevant to
And Kim's story was so. Well, it's very interesting because there was really nothing wrong, but she made every bad choice until she was like, "All right, I think I'm done making bad choices
Yeah.
now." And,
Yeah.
and it was even her dad coming to come get her and giving her one more chance.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of the prodigal daughter without even I don't know. It was just, there wasn't like, oh, this happened, so I made
Right.
bad choices. It was just like, no, I made a lot of bad choices.
Right.
You
My
know?
brother committed suicide when I was 7, so this is why none of that
She didn't have
happened,
any of that.
you
She
know?
had, no, my parents loved me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a fascinating episode for anybody.
And
That's,
so frank.
yeah.
And
Oh
open.
yeah, yeah,
And she was just, it's who I am.
Yep.
yeah. That was great. And on a personal note, my Amy knew her from working with her.
That was great.
And like I could tell like why they were like friends at work and got along, and friends outside of work, whatever. But yeah, it was really fun.
So your Amy worked with her.
Yeah, at some point.
What's Amy Raymond's connection with her?
That is a very, I think, loosely high school.
Okay.
But I thought
Friend group.
Amy was older, and then they met up like in some kind of group.
I think Amy's
It was later
a bit
on.
older.
Right.
No. Like there's an age gap there, so I don't know if high school was it.
Right.
It
So
was,
Amy,
it was maybe like a mom's group
Something like that.
Something.
okay.
or a business group.
But they went to the same high school.
and they found out that they went to the
right.
same high school.
Right.
They went to high school together different times.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just thinking. Again, I wasn't here for that episode, but in my head, I guess I created a little story because we
Have you yet to meet Amy Raymond, right?
No, correct.
You
That's
haven't
but
met
I,
her?
at least I know that
Really?
it's true. Isn't that? I
Like I
mean,
said
how many
before,
times has she been
I-
here?
I
But
have never seen Chris and Amy Raymond in the same place at the same time.
makes you wonder.
That's. Oh, and how many episodes has Amy been on?
Amy Raymond.
Raymond. I'm sorry, Amy.
Yeah. How many?
Times has Amy been on?
Yeah.
16.
No.
No.
She's been on 4, twice as a guest, right? Because we had that discussion.
I think
last
she was
time
on
we
once as a guest, once with Kim, filled in for Chris
Yeah.
in his hiatus once.
and
So I
she
think
was-
maybe just,
she was on once with Duke too. Remember?
I think it was that time.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No. That was no. That
Yeah.
was, I was thinking. I was like, man, I feel like it's getting close to 5, and like you get to
Yeah.
5, you get something.
But I mean,
like NSL has
yeah,
the jacket.
one of those,
whatever.
yeah.
well, we talked about that. You got like, the wine glass, of
Oh,
the table.
yeah.
and-
Yeah.
Of course, that was for contributing, but she's contributing in non-monetary ways or monetary ways. Either way.
She's a producer.
And I think we had Luke and Kate on twice actually. Didn't
did.
we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So Luke and Kate are people that Eric works with.
Oh, lovely people.
You've known them
So
for quite a
fun.
while now.
Yeah.
They were episode 117.
They might have been well before that. I think that might be their second one.
Yeah. Because
That had to have been their second one because they were pretty early on.
Yeah.
tell you what,
They might have been our first guest.
our first non-family guest.
Right.
Luke and Kate +8.
What I love, man, they were so honest.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
Oh,
who.
yeah.
I mean, that's who they are.
That's who they are.
But
yeah.
but for Luke to come on this podcast,
Yeah.
now he's your boy,
He's my boy. Yeah.
so there's that.
Yeah.
But I mean, Luke is such a wonderful lunkhead.
Oh, he's the best. And he would tell you that.
Why would anybody come on this podcast? So far, I went with a nice, classy McKeesport broad, lunkhead.
Lunkhead.
But he is.
He
and,
is.
And he answered
He's
the
the best.
questions. I remember there was some times like we're
Yeah.
talking about their relationship. And,
Yeah.
And like he was
We
kind of
talked
like,
about
it's
his dad and
Yeah, it's
you
getting
know?
a little too close.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it was, if you're the kind of person that's uncomfortable, expressing emotions, you can identify, he wasn't uncomfortable, but it's not
Yeah.
something he talks about. a lot.
Right.
Right.
And they're larger than life people. Like, one, like Kate's very tall and Luke is very tall, but they're big on their community. Luke is a
Oakdale.
yeah, Oakdale. Luke is a volunteer firefighter, and he like remodeled their house and did all this crazy stuff to their house and built they call it the garage mahal, the garage with the basically mother-in-law suite on
the
top
golf
of it.
simulator.
The golf simulator, like just.
Oh, that's Luke too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Ball golf.
Yeah, ball golf.
Oh, the other.
If you're looking for a good Instagram account, he has one
Kate
called
Scares.
Oh, Kate Scares.
Kate
yeah.
Scares, where he just goes and scares Kate.
Interesting, because that's a prank. And
Yeah.
Kim Clemons talked about how she and her husband, or no, does he prank her?
I don't know.
It was somebody significant, like
Yeah.
but they're the only ones that are allowed to prank each other.
Yeah.
So we've had two couples that like to prank each
Or
other.
was
Yeah.
that Amy?
No.
No.
But
Well,
I
I
was-
guarantee to you, Amy Raymond ain't a big prank fan.
Yeah, but
Once, no, I'm just kidding.
but they went through a lot. They had a huge wedding planned. I'm talking like
Oh, that's right. That's right. The first time that they were
Couple
on,
hundred
they were
people.
leading up to that.
yeah, and then COVID hit, and then they kept on delaying the wedding, and then sooner or later they were like, well, it's just not going to happen. Like, we're just can't do it. And I was so sad because I remember we the work crew sent them I think it was the day that they were supposed to get married. We sent them videos from home, like Amy, and Maggie. I know. It was horrible. It was horrible. But that was that was like at the height.
We've lost Brad.
Yeah, yeah. But it was horrible, and I felt so bad that I was like, I can't believe this is how we're celebrating.
They must have been on the first time, probably somewhere around like September of 2019. Then.
Yeah,
because they were getting close to the wedding, but
it wasn't imminent.
Right. It wasn't imminent.
Right.
And then I remember you giving the update, like, oh yeah, they've had to put this on hold. I'm like, how do you put a wedding on hold?
I know.
And then we freaking figure out you put the whole world on hold, and sorry,
because I found it hilarious. I remember because they had picked Soldiers and Sailors to be the venue.
Really?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, it's hilarious because she's such a Penn State fan.
Oh, interesting.
I made so much fun of her for doing it down at Pitt, for picking Pitt.
That's a huge venue, though. That's awesome.
Oh, and they needed one. That was one of the only places that they
just
could
never
do it.
got to do.
I know. I felt so bummed because they were very much like big party.
Oh, what a party that would have been. I don't even know them that
best.
well, but I guarantee that.
Oh, it would have been
So
the
they
best.
never did even like a scaled down version?
They didn't even get married.
I'm trying to remember what actually happened. I think
up.
they got married up. I think they got married up at the. Their parents have a house up in Mercer Lake. I think they got married up there.
Okay.
Is that outside of Titusville?
A little ways. It's closer to here, actually.
wasn't there a theme park, a very small theme park up that way?
Conneaut Lake.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's really what you were discussing, or that's what you were thinking
That's
of?
what I was thinking of. Yeah.
No, I don't think of it as very little. I mean, I've never been there, but
I mean,
think
it's
of it-
small compared to stuff that was around here, probably. But yeah,
it's
the
no
blue
White
streak.
Swan Park.
Oh,
The blue streak that got like burned down for insurance or whatever. Oh, I'm spreading rumors. I don't know if that's really true, but it did burn down eventually, like a year ago.
Well, the whole park.
Oh, wow.
The whole park went under, and then somebody bought it.
A few times, I think.
Yeah, but recently again.
Yeah. Okay.
But we've never had White Swan, Conneaut Park on the podcast. But somebody we did have on the podcast was Matt Cresto.
Yeah, I was gonna go. to
We've been
him.
lighthearted. We've been lighthearted for a while now. Let's bring it back
Right.
down a notch.
Oh man.
Yeah, so Matt, I think Matt was one of the most impactful ones, just from the pure, this actually happened in real life to this person story. Matt's a guy who I think has 5 kids together with his wife, Christy, kind of a combined family, I believe. And during COVID, Christy was pregnant and she got COVID and had to go into the hospital, where over the course of several months at the end of 2021,
Not 2020.
not 2020, I think it was early October through early January, the hospital basically killed her. And now Matt is...
Have you talked to him at all lately?
I haven't talked to him, and now that I'm talking about him, I feel led to talk to him again.
Yep.
But
It's such a regular guy.
just trying
Just a dude.
trying to make it happen, just trying
Just
to get
a
by,
dude.
Left with multiple kids.
just trying to balance work at as a manager at Advanced Auto Parts, and
Trauma.
Grief. Like there were so many moments on that where he started to break down a little bit.
It was terrible.
Just criminal, and there's so much of that injustice that has yet to be brought to justice. And like just to hear Matt's story, like there's so many things from time to time they're like, oh, that's tragic, that's out there. These are the kind of ones that are like, no, that happens to anybody, it happens here. So
It's the kind of podcast you don't want to listen to, and you really should.
right.
Oh, and I said we were going to bring this podcast back to a more
Episode
serious note.
164. If anybody's
Episode 164, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
it truly is an amazing story to hear. It'll frustrate you, it'll make you angry, but it's real and it's human, and it's worth it.
his story brings brought great fear to me, like just in the sense of how we all do. We want a sense of control. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like just that, like having to like watch that happen. Like, of course, you place yourself in that situation, and I think of Amy, and like that's just
And to be overruled and manipulated by the very people straight up lied to by the very people that you took her to get her better.
Yeah.
Because not because they're practicing medicine, but because they're practicing protocols. You know, they're using a system rather than looking at a human being. And that's one of the most tragic things about it, is that none of that had to happen. She could have been out that door in a day, 2 days.
I want to talk to you about something off air later.
Oh,
that is great for the podcast.
But yeah.
Write it down and talk to me about it.
But
Nobody's going to know.
no matter who you are, it's not easy being in the hospital. And especially if you have a child in the hospital, I will testify, it is not an easy situation. And that's why it was great having Richie Reeder on and him talking about pressing on and the work that they do. You know, I keep saying the ministry, but it's not a ministry. It's a nonprofit, because they want to be able to reach out to anybody. You know, they don't want to be like, oh, I'm not a Christian, so I'm not going to use them. And so to hear their stories and to hear how it started, you know, through his daughter and through needing a transplant and surviving that and following Rachel and my footsteps of being in the hospital and realizing that there is there are social workers and there's clergy in the hospital. Neither's, with all due respect, neither's great. And there's a big chasm in between the two. And so that's where Pressing On steps in and meets needs that are very real. And it was very important to hear what he had to say. And he was one of our first people to have on, along with Amanda and Michael, and talking about Hollywood and faith. And that was unique.
It was unique. Hearing Amanda talk about, you know, what life is like in Hollywood and talking about there's more believers than you think, was comforting to me, because, you know, Hollywood is huge and they have a huge influence.
I hear they're not always the best people, though.
Yeah. But there are some in there.
That's the nice thing to hope on.
And I'm thankful that she was one of them.
Yeah.
And her story of the people that would like come onto her property.
No.
So their compound, because
their compound.
And
how she just got rid of them, and like she was threatened and didn't care, and
she's this little 5'6", 100 pounds wet person, and like she just has fire in her belly. She's not afraid.
She falls in the same category as some incredibly unique people we have had sit with us at the table.
I remember her talking about Charlie Sheen and how was this on air? I
How down to earth he is.
Well, how much he remembers everything about you.
Oh, interesting.
Well, it's his tiger blood.
Yeah, but he would have a conversation with you, and then months would go by, and then he'd come back and be like, "Hey, so how's it going with blah blah blah?" You know, just picking up like just one of those guys.
I don't know what that is about people. Like when I was not quite on Young Life staff, but basically doing the same thing locally, we went to Young Life camp, and they had just hired this new president of Young Life, which was a really big deal. I mean, it's a 3,000 staff ministry, and somebody had just donated an entire property in upstate Washington. It belonged to some cult, and somebody bought it and donated it to Young Life for $1, like 500 acres in the state of Washington. And they came, and the new president announced it. And I walked up to him, and it's a long story, but I apologize. But I went up to him and I said, "Hey, my name's Jay Mitlow. I'm not on Young Life staff or anything, but you should send them a thank you note." And he just looked at me like, "Are you kidding me?" And I went, "Follow it with a phone call." And I just walked away. Just to be funny. Like, of course they did that. They just were given $20 million of property. 5 years later, I've been on Young Life staff for 4 years. We're at an all-staff conference. He sits down next to me at lunch, and he goes, "Hey, I just took your advice." And I said, "Hello, Mr. Ryberg. Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, I just talked to the Washington family." He goes, "I was thanking them again for the property."
Oh my
and
gosh!
I mean, it was like mafia. I was just like, "All right, you know everything about me. That's cool." And so that's what reminded me. So,
yeah.
God rest Denny Ryberg's soul in Martin Sheen or Charlie Sheen.
But you had started to say something about when I was talking about Amanda being like a Spitfire.
She's just a highly unique individual that you will remember meeting. I mean, I think that's true of almost everybody on this list.
Well, and she was on 2 back-to-back episodes,
Yeah,
75 and 76. What's the story behind that?
She was in town.
Okay.
She was in town, and she had a lot to talk about. You know, she has a really, really amazing story. She just had decided to leave Pittsburgh because she went to Point Park for theater, and there was opportunities here, but she just wanted to do the California dream thing. Did it, and the
good news is
she's alive.
Isn't she coming back?
And she's coming back. She's I think she's going to be splitting time between Pittsburgh and Tennessee because there's a lot of filming going on down in Tennessee. Plus, she has a new job down there within. It's a good story.
I totally forgot she said that at like Christmas time, huh? She's coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, she needs to. There's been a lot happening out there.
Speaking of a lot happening, we had Duke and Lydia on in episode 120, and they've both been on since then. So they're regulars at the table.
But they weren't on together again. They were only on together once.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Why are you shaking your head?
Well, it was one of my favorite episodes because of some of the points that came out, where Duke didn't quite get to emotional responding, and then he got it, and some of the things we talked about, like how it's a language that, because I hadn't really put it together up to that point, but they were talking and they were like, this is a language that we can now use to communicate with each other. It's a tool in the toolbox, right? And I think that's one of the moments that stands out to me of all the podcasts we've done. Just those moments are real, to see them having those
the aha moments explained.
Yeah.
Well, the line he used that I have used in pre-marriage teaching many times since is, he said, as an engineer, I looked at emotions as nuisances and variables.
Yeah.
He said, and then I realized they were tools to solve problems.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm excited about them.
Yeah.
And I was like, my man.
Yeah. Well, that's a very different perspective.
Yeah, it was
that's cool. Because Duke is just a cool guy, and I mean that literally. Like, he is cool as
Calm
a
and
cucumber.
collected.
Yes,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
is just straight and narrow. And
Yeah, I was going to say, he's far cooler as a cucumber than like as a cool dude.
well, he's that too. But yeah, he.
drop master, Chris.
I'm not. That's the way I talk. Who else?
Justin and Lauren both be.
Yeah.
I wasn't here for any of this.
Man, that seems so
Were they
long
on
ago.
just once or were they on twice?
No, they were just on once.
They were just
Really?
on once. Yeah.
I miss them.
And then they moved.
Yeah,
was
that's
it.
been like 2 years. Wow, it's been
That
like 2
is
years.
wow.
They've been down in
Well-
North Carolina for 2 years.
I guess they were on like 2 years
They
ago.
were on like 2 years
Yeah.
ago, and I think they were
Oh.
leaving like shortly after.
Yeah.
So
I
like, they've been
remember
like
that
a year and a
was
half.
close.
Like
I remember them talking about their courting process of how they
what
were,
going
how they got to know each
Jumanji
other.
Town? Oh,
No, just how like
Yeah.
they weren't close to each other, and
they had gone to
lived-
school together, and then like
but they weren't dating when they went to school together.
and then Justin was over in Israel, and then like I don't know how they met. Like I don't know how they got in contact online or like started talking to each other online, but they did, and then he came back, and the rest is history.
If you want to hear a very good love story, go back to episode 105 with Justin and Lauren, because they're just very, very genuine people, and their story is a beautiful story about long distance relationships and really just giving it to God to figure out.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And as long as we're being positive, I'll be negative. I remember when we had the good Dr. Nancy Hines, superintendent of Penn Hill School District, on, and I was super pumped because we were very close at the time, and it was such a politician kind of time. Like she didn't
I
go
wasn't
there.
here for this one, so
She just didn't go there.
I
you
know.
and it was
They-
all glossy. And
Well,
I was
yeah.
like, you've wasted our time.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where you want somebody to open up,
A little bit.
and she was fine, but you want to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit.
Well, I was so pumped because I'm like,
Yeah.
we had a friendship and it was cool and everything else. And I'm like, I know you can't be out here and be like, which school board member I can't stand. And let me tell you, one time I duped the teachers. Like, no, you're not going to do that, but
Right.
like, let us in a little bit.
Yeah.
Let us in. And I didn't feel like we got that.
I was
Yeah.
actually here for that one, and I remember. I mean, obviously, we're in
Gave her your resume.
the
That was a
same.
lot.
Yeah, we're in, that was a little much. No, we're in the same, profession.
You looking for a vice principal?
So I really enjoyed some of those conversations, but I do remember that, like, every time you tried to, let's delve a little
Right.
deeper, or just ask a question, it was sort of diverted away from, or glanced off, and like you said, like a politician kind of.
Speaking of
that skill,
politicians.
they have that skill.
speaking of politicians,
Oh, Christina Marra.
No, Duke has commented.
What?
Christina Marra.
Aw. Duke's. Duke says you're cool, Chris. That's
Further
nice,
confirming.
Duke.
Duke is not cool.
First one to
wait a
ever,
minute,
first one to ever say it.
But speaking of politicians, and you brought up Christina Marra, I saw, I don't know, her dad in the paper
yeah,
today
her dad
in the
is
progress. It's a terrible thing.
Well,
it's disgusting.
Is he still fighting the good fight?
Well, he was censured,
Oh, he was.
Thank you,
officially.
by the way.
censured,
Yeah.
and because he was asking questions that people didn't want answers to, and it's the way politics works.
It's a great study.
Let's put his
Right.
freaking face on the front of the Pittsburgh Penn Hills Progress, and it's ridiculous.
As far as I understand the story, and I understand it somewhat well, there was a report put out by somebody in the school district, and he said, well, that report's not accurate. And so the reason why he was able to be censured is because by saying that, the residents could sue the school district for falsifying a report. So he did not act in the best interest of the school district because he opened them
By
up
telling the truth.
by
Yeah.
telling the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so that's his
how
malfeasance.
terrible,
right?
Rock.
But what's crazy is it's been on Facebook, it's been all over the place, and I have yet to see one person be like, "Yeah, I can't believe he did that. That's terrible." Like everyone's like,
Right.
"Yeah, this guy
Right.
should be." Somebody said the other day he should be superintendent.
Yeah.
But so that's the hope I have.
Yes,
Right.
But that is a good
People
transition to
recognize it.
Christina because that's one of the things we talked about. You got big business, Rock Mara. You know, he was big professional, everything
MIT
else.
graduate.
Oh, yeah. rugby
Super
player.
smart.
You got Jane Mara as a mother. That's a large life, a
Yeah.
large personality, school board, everything. And then, here's Christina. Yeah. Oh, and you have Caroline as an older sister.
I was going to say she's the third of
Andrew
the
and
kids.
Jeff.
She's the fourth.
Or fourth of
Yeah.
the kids, right? I forgot about her.
Wait, is she the youngest?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
But don't worry about saying three because they call Jeff like the
The missing
what-
brother or
yeah,
whatever, because
yeah.
he's like New York or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not even the prodigal son. He's the oh yeah son. But it was good to hear her perspective, and likewise a recent college grad. And Jared, he is a great example
Jared.
of this is like a regular dude, but he's so yet unique and
Yeah.
remarkable that he was a young life leader, and he coaches high school soccer, and he's an IT guy.
He works for the
computer
CIA.
science guy.
He
and-
spies on us.
Yeah, well, they all do. So it
He
was good.
doesn't directly work for the CIA. He's contracted.
Okay.
Jared was episode 104. Christina's episode 116. Yeah, a couple of our younger guests.
And Leah, we can't forget Leah.
Well, I didn't know. Is that family or is that not family?
No, we
Is that
She's
why
on
they
here.
wrote Leah?
With a question mark? Yeah.
she deserves to be mentioned. She has an amazing story. She's overcome
She
so much in
does
her
have
life.
an amazing story.
I have really enjoyed, she's been a legal adult since I've known her, but yet I feel like in these past few years, I've really enjoyed watching her grow up and getting to know her better. And because how old was she when we met her? 18, 19?
19.
And now she's 21, almost 22. Those are formative years.
She's
you know what I
made
mean?
big steps. In
Yeah,
terms
it's
of
really,
growth and
and she is part of the family. We see her all the time, and
yeah.
She's about to graduate from Boyce. She's kept her nose down and is getting her degree there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that there was after. I mean, you want to go back and listen to that one. It's a good one because she was pretty real.
Oh,
And
she was
had
real.
some fallout after
And
that.
all she said was, "I had some friends back in the day that weren't the best for me,
right.
and I
She
made a
did
bunch
have-
of bad
oh,
choices."
I felt so bad
And
for
she
that.
said,
Hey.
"I made bad choices." And one of those people who she hadn't talked to in a long time came at her strong after that. I mean, threatening her and everything else. And I remember I said, I comforted, I joined her, I lifted her up and said, "Hey, you look where you are now, you're everything else." And then it kept going and it kept going, and she was in trauma and everything else. And I said to her, if it keeps going, just say to them, "You know the difference between you and me? If you'd have been on a podcast, I wouldn't even have known."
that would be such a
Stone
good
cold.
comeback.
That's stone cold.
And that's one of those things that Brian appreciates that I keep in.
There was a couple moments this past week. Oh, I remember when we were talking about what do we do about this this upcoming thing on Saturday, and some of the things that you were saying, I was like, "Holy crap! I'm glad you have the Holy Spirit inside you."
You have no idea. No idea.
We'd all be in trouble.
Goodness.
That's going to be like my second. After I get done with this book about if your child has been diagnosed with a life-threatening disease and how to self-help through that. The second book I write is going to be the things I don't say.
Let's put it under a pseudonym, or what's it called? Like under
Pseudonym.
Ghostwriter.
Yeah. Chris Davidson.
And that is how we would like to end episode 199. What? Did we miss somebody?
Well, I don't know if did we really talk about Amy Rayman though? Like,
We talked a lot about Amy Rayman.
We did.
Well, I was gonna say I feel
We
like
didn't mention the professional aspect. You want to talk about that?
like
real
we
quick?
didn't I feel like we talked a lot about her, but we didn't like mention like anything specific about.
I would say we did not. Because she kind of sits here with us a good
Right,
bit.
that's what I
People have
mean.
gotten to know her,
I
but
didn't know
if you
if
want to go back and listen,
She brings food and stuff.
you know
No,
what?
I know that, but,
She's,
like-
you know what it is? She's the mirror image of Kim Clemons in that she had a good childhood and she ended up okay.
Yeah.
Like, whereas Kim had a good childhood and made bad choices. But they both have emotional needs that need to be met. And Amy has had a very successful career in sports marketing and then Children's Hospital fundraising
Yeah.
and now Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah.
And,
Pretty incredible.
It's
Yeah.
and it's a lot of fun. And we've gotten to work with her and Mark they used to come to our Get Better segments.
Yep.
And so
And-
that's Amy Raymond.
And
help
stay,
it-
and stay tuned because Amy is helping us because of her connections. She's helping get some future guests on.
She's guaranteed us 4 super exciting guests in the next 3 months.
Nice.
Well, she hasn't, but I'm saying that so she feels the pressure.
Next week, episode 200. That's going to be something.
And you know what that's going to be about?
Me neither.
None of us do.
Well, thanks for joining us. Please make sure if you can, give us a like or follow on social media. Visit us at worldwideweb.lunchtimeinrome.com.
.ww.
/biz. While there, take our relational needs questionnaire. Thanks for joining us at the table for Lunchtime in Rome.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.